Regardless, this world is crazy. This world is crazy. You go down in a lab for a year, working on this human regeneration project, and what do you find? What do you find when you get up a year later? The world tells you to go back inside. It's sorry about that. This is an adult show. Is it? Right? It is, right? Yes. It's nuts. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get into this. Roll it. Oh, hello. Ah, yes. I am Dr. Leonard Timenti. I am back. I'm back. Yes. At least for now. Before I go back down to my lab and delve and look more into things, I'm looking starting human trials. It's hard to it's hard when you're an eccentric geneticist. It's hard to find human trial people. Whatever the word is. I'm 155 years old. If I can't think of a word, it's hard. Okay. But, you guys must have heard about this. Bernie Sanders has dropped out of the race. Now, as you all know, I have a complicated relationship with Bernie Sanders, being as Bernie Sanders is to the right. I'm sorry, to the right. Wait, that's my left. You're right. To the right of me. Because I am a socialist. Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist. I agree with, basically, by default, I agree with everything that Bernie Sanders says. I just don't feel it's enough to support, the backbone of society. I would be happy if the government was in control of the economy. I would be happy with that. In fact, that's what I want, that's what I advocate for. And that, my friends, is socialism. And it is the difference between socialism and what Bernie Sanders calls democratic socialism. Did I say this was called left-wing rising? I meant that. And I'm Dr. Leonard Timenti. I said that, though. Yes, okay. Socialism bit, yes. But regardless, it is fascinating to me that we had a candidate who is so far to the left compared to regular everyday politics, so progressive, so far towards the socialist end. Not yet socialist, quite, but so far to the socialist end that... And just to see these swells of people who are into supporting Bernie Sanders, it was quite fulfilling for me. Someone who has lived his entire life as a socialist and lived his entire and actually campaigned for Eugene V. Debs all 5 times that he ran, even the one time he ran from prison. So it's that everything that I am working towards is everything that I have been working towards is coming into effect, and it's getting closer. And it's just weird at this moment where we get so close to having so close and yet so far. Where we get so close to having someone who is even half as socialist as I am. And yet, reality always snaps us back. And we come back and realize, look at who's in the White House now. Yeah. We just need to take a pause. just take a pause on that. Halt. Let's reset the system. Get some small semblance of normalcy back into it. And then, once Joe Biden is president, be his bloody nightmare. Be his bloody nightmare once he wins. And that is what I'm saying. And believe you me, I am the last person you would expect to vote for Joe Biden. I am as socialist comes. And I am imploring all of you. And I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm so far to the left, I'm going in circles. But, you know, let us take a step back. Let us get through this election, this most important, and you can believe me when I say this is the most important election because I am 155 years old. I have been a United States citizen since my citizenship went through in 1910. So I have been a citizen of this country for, well, actually 1909 is when I went through, so 111, wow. This year, 111 years. I am someone who's been a citizen of this country for 111 years. So you can believe me when I say, this is the most important election of our lifetime. Of my lifetime. Most important election. Let us get through this election. Let us reset, clear all, and then, only then, shall we continue our political revolution and surge forward, pestering Joe Biden about all of the things that he wants. So, until Election Day 2020, which is November what? Computer, when is Election Day?
Election Day is on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020.
Do what she said. Tuesday. So up until Tuesday, November 3rd, Tuesday the 3rd of November 2020, I will be an enthusiastic advocate of Joe Biden. On November 4th, 2020, when and if and when Joe Biden has won the election, I will pester him so hard his ears fall off. And then, because with no ears he won't be able to be president. I mean, if he literally has no ears, he won't be able to be president. So, Vice President, whoever, will be president, and I will pester that person. I'll pester her. To go so far to the left that she is going in circles. I used that twice. Is that okay? I used that twice? Yes. Well, you know, we're all at home. I have been spending most of my time in the lab. We're not working on this human regeneration concept, human regeneration genome thing. I am working on ways to beat this virus, and I'm working on what I'm working on first and foremost is finding a nemesis for the coronavirus. I want to find a nemesis for COVID-19. The one thing I'm still working on, however, is getting COVID-19 to talk about its plans in like a grand gesture villain speech so that I can strike, so that I can like take advantage of it and like so I can take my shot. That was weird. So I can take my shot. That's so I'm sort of still stuck in that area of the plan. I don't exactly know how to do that. I don't exactly know how I'm... It's weird is what I'm trying to say. I will say, that in my lab I have created a garden, a greenhouse, and sort of a garden sort of thing, so I'm growing my own vegetables. I am, being a geneticist, of course, an eccentric one, if that. I'm creating my own meat as well. I'm growing my own steaks in the lab. I'm growing my own hamburger, and I'm growing chickens. I'm growing chicken breast in the lab. And they are scrumptious. I love it. If you tweet me at Dr. Tementi, I will tell you how. But only if you tweet me, okay? So, I will do that. So, I haven't really had need to leave my house. But if I do, let me show you how to make a mask with the materials that are at your house. First, I will say this at first. I don't necessarily need... I mean, this mustache and beard sort of provides some protection from the droplets, but you need all the protection you can get. So, if you would like to make a mask, first, get a pair of underwear. Then, from your ex-boyfriend in the 80s, I have several ties that belonged to an ex-boyfriend of mine in 1987. This was actually his favourite tie. So here is how we do this. So I take the tie, fold it like that. See? You put the underwear like that, and the tie against it. Sort of, to get maximum, you want to fold your underwear like that. Put it against your face like this. And then you bring it around, and you tie the tie. You tie the tie around your head like so. And there you have, there's hair in my mouth. There you have a mask. A mask that protects you from any and all water droplets. Any and all droplets, aerosol that is floating in the air with the coronavirus. That is a mask. That is how you create a mask at home with materials that everyone has. Because who has a bandana? Who's got a bandana? No one's got... I don't have any bandanas. I'm not a cowboy. I'm not a cowboy. I came to America after that phase. I came to America after the cowboy phase. But I do have several ties that used to belong to my ex-boyfriend, and I've got underwear. So, I use that. And that is how Dr. Leonard Dementi makes a mask. That was enjoyable. And now, I and the rest of us here at Left Wing Rising have a special treat for you. This person came to us when I was in my lab working on the When I was in my lab working on the Human Regeneration Genome Project, this person contacted me from another world, another universe, another dimension. I didn't even know that was possible. I mean, we always knew, we hypothesized about the many worlds, many universes, infinite universes, hypothesis. In fact, so many scientists have just, accepted it and, take it to be true. That there are infinite universes, infinite possibilities of every choice, everything that can ever be. And who knew that in one of those universes there was magic and wizards and all of these things that are only fiction and fantasy in our
YouTube.
universe.
The majority report w/Sam Sager just uploaded the video. The majority.
That are only fiction and fantasy in our universe. And this particular person is... Now this is a race that I have only heard of because of Dungeons and Dragons. A game which, of course, I was around when they first invented Dungeons and Dragons, so... Actually, I remember one of my first campaigns back in 1978. Yeah, I got it a little late. I was already 100 by that point. Give me a break. 110. 1978, I was 100. Never mind. But this person is a changeling. This person has the ability to change their form at will. Now, I don't think they are going to, but they can. So just keep that in mind. That they can change their form at will. I just think that's fascinating. I think that's endlessly fascinating, and I want to take a look at his genome, and I want to take a look at that genome so I can see how exactly that DNA works. But that goes all without saying. They have agreed to come on and give us their perspective on global pandemics and how to respond to a global pandemic. Now this is fascinating. It is a wizard's perspective on how to respond to a global pandemic. Fascinating. I think it's fascinating, and I'm excited to see what they say. So without further ado, I introduce all of you to the chief wizard in the court of King Paolo, the master of all that is light and dark, life and death, love and hatred. Did I forget one? Did I forget a name? Chief wizard in the court of King Paolo, master of all that is... There's something like Melion in there, wasn't there? No, not. Okay. Let's take that again. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the chief wizard in the court of King Paolo, in the land of Melion, master of all that is light and dark, life and death, love and hatred, Mithrius Exaltor. Hey, hello. Yes. Okay, well, let me put that down my magic staff, just to... You want to be careful with those, just be careful they don't end up in the wrong hands. Over here in Melion, we just got through a bit of a Dark Lord period of our own. So, I know exactly how you feel right now. It's scary, living under a Dark Lord. You never know if you're safe. You never know if you're going to be safe 6 months from now. I'm here telling you, Melion has had... Sorry. I'm here telling you, Melion has had... How many Dark Lords? Well, actually, Melion's an interesting case, because Melion has had really the same Dark Lord come in, like, in different incarnations. I think 6 times so far is, I believe, how many incarnations the Dark Lord has come back under. Well, that's 6, including the first incarnation. So that was their original body. The last time was actually the first time the Dark Lord was a woman, so there's that. At least you have that to look forward to. You know, your Dark Lord doesn't have to be a man. You have that to look forward to. I'm just looking forward to the time when a Dark Lord is non-binary. Yes, such as myself. Not Dark Lord me. Although part of what I am is the Master of Darkness. I should get started with this segment. I'm running out of time. But, yes, so thank you dearly, Leonard, for bringing me on to talk about this pandemics things. Yes, here in Melion we had a pandemic, let's see, it's, right now it's the beginning of the Fourth Age. Really that's all you need to know, but that's, one of our ages lasts about 1,000 years. So, back in the year like 2044, we had this wicked pandemic, and that was it tore through many communities, hit the gnomes the hardest, because the gnomes are in Ononowai'i, and they don't have as many, because those are more gnomish cities, so they don't have much by the way of clerics, and they don't have much by the way of divine magic down there. Their connection, they have a goddess. They do have a patron goddess on Ononowai'i, but that they are not as caught up. They, at least at the time, they are now. They have since caught up, but they are not. At the time, they weren't as caught up on. Really, weren't as caught up on magic as we were. And don't even get me started on goblins. Goblins really don't have magic at all. They are really interested in technology. Now, goblins, well, that's a whole other video. I'm here talking about pandemics. The 2044 pandemic, I believe they called it the dragon flu back then. Yes. It was the dragon flu. Of course, everyone thought it came from a dragon. It really didn't. It didn't come from a dragon. It actually came from like a mosquito. It can be quite humid down in Ononowai'i. They have lots of mosquitoes. So really it probably came from a mosquito. But everybody thought, drum up panic. Oh, it's coming from dragons. Oh, yeah. But with that being said, really the way, they just immediately the leaders on Ononowai'i put out emergencies, like states of emergency, declared emergencies, and asked for help. Used the divine magical resources they had to cure people, but really they needed an influx. There weren't enough clerics on Ononowai'i at the time to deal with the mass pandemic that was happening in Ononowai'i. See, when it was happening in Melio and Melanhill and Ionia, and even in Gornis, in the Dark Elf city, even in the city, the big floating city, which is actually where we are now, in the city, we have ample clerics who are prepared for just a situation as a global virus, a pandemic. They can go and people can go to the temples, and it doesn't really matter which god. You can go to any temple of whichever god you believe in, whether it's Mel or Iho or Un, or even if it's Pleister, the god of planets. I believe he's the god of planets, yes. Or even if it's Zastin, the goddess of the hunt. you can go to whichever god or goddess, and the cleric can heal you. And that cleric will heal you of the disease, and that's once you magically heal every person of a pandemic, you've pretty much wiped out the virus. So that virus, the dragon flu, or as I call it, the mosquito flu, never reared its ugly head ever again. And now later in 3715, this is somewhat recently. This was actually during my lifetime. This was only like 300 years ago. This is only 300 years ago, so it's during my lifetime. There was a magical pandemic, and that was much harder to deal with because our normal divine magic wouldn't work. Like our clerics weren't prepared to handle a magical pandemic of such proportions. Now, our clerics do prepare for, there are magical ailments and magical diseases which crop up, and affect, so there are, magical solutions to those. But this pandemic in 3715 rather, but this magical pandemic in 3715, it was a doozy. It was really a doozy. This one nearly wiped out half of the wood elf population. It was so bad, and really cut deeply into the goblin population. So that was sad. We lost several goblins. Interestingly enough, that one was actually solved through goblin and gnomish science. So it's just really interesting that the normal pandemic was solved by magical means, and the magical pandemic was actually solved through non-magical means, which is a fascinating way of tackling it. That one was just actually, there was a lot of testing. So much testing to see who had the pandemic, and a lot of quarantine, like the entire continent country of Ionia went under lockdown. That's no one in the continent of Ionia could leave their home. So that was major. And the city, the whole city was just shut down. The streets were bare. The temples were full. And the non-magical healing facilities were jam-packed of people. Especially once King Pala wasn't king then. That was actually before King Pala. King Pala was actually the king that helped move us into the Fourth Age. We had the city, but it was the city was actually its own thing back then. Its own government back then, of sort of like its own government, and that was really one of the most unified melting pot / tossed salad places in Melion. Was the most diverse places the city was at that time. It still is. It still is one of the most. The moons are pretty diverse. The moons are pretty egalitarian, and the city back then was one of the most diverse places in Melion. But it was fascinating. It's like there was lots of so getting back to this magical pandemic, there was we really relied on the goblins. The goblins became the goblin doctors, in particular, goblin medics, became the heroes of that pandemic. And really, we came to rely on them. And, like, they tested us to see if we got it, and if we had it, obviously they were quarantined, but people were encouraged to, distance themselves from other people. How much did we distance ourselves? I believe it was 6 kina. Yes, 6 kina. 6 kina apart we had to be. It was hard at first, but once you got it in your head that, like, your god or goddess couldn't save you from this, it really sunk in with people, and it became real for people. Like, once they realized that the god or goddess couldn't help them, it really sunk in, like, how serious this was, and people started taking it seriously. I suppose that's the number one thing I'd recommend to you, because it sounds like your pandemic was more like our magical pandemic. So if it's anything like that, your gods and goddesses cannot save you. They absolutely cannot. Like, you have to rely on your. Who would you rely? Who would your version of goblins? I suppose you'd have to rely on your goblins. Yes. So go support your goblins. I guess that's how I have to end this. Is just telling all of you to support your goblins. Go raise lots of gold for your goblins. Support your goblins. You know what? After that, and to this day, we still celebrate our goblins. Where every year we have Goblin Day, International Goblin Day, which is a day marked to remember all of the goblins who worked so hard, all of the goblin medics and healers who worked so hard to help save us from that global magical pandemic. And we were able to study it afterward. It took us a long time to figure out why exactly magical means didn't help. But it had several magical, and we actually discovered that it had several really strong magical resistances, and also found out that this particular virus was actually designed by the Dark Lord. And it was really interesting timing, because 3715, I don't know how well you all know your Melion history, but 3715 was only like 25 years after the last time. No, wait, it wasn't the last time. It was the fifth incarnation. That 3715 was only like 25 years
Notification
after.
center. Low battery. You are currently on a text element.
3715 was actually 25 years after the Dark Lord had been defeated. She was defeated by me. No, not me. But my predecessor, because I was in my lifetime, but I was like a child. I was a child in 3715. Yes. Alright. Yes. But that was defeated by my mentor, Alakai Wondershelf. That's who defeated that Dark Lord. He was a mentor to me. He was my greatest teacher, Alakai Wondershelf. But anyway, this magical virus had several layers. Ooh. We'll be right back. I believe there is a magical creature that I've got to take care of. Excuse me. And going up, and
Photo booth window. Photo booth window has keyboard focus. You are currently on an image.
oh, standing on my cliff. Ooh, pulled my hair. All right. Well, ooh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. There was a magical creature over there I had to take care of. Just a little imp. We've been having an imp infestation here at the Immermorn School of Magic, and apparently one of them came with me, like in one of my trunks. Came in my trunk to the city. Decided to pop in my trunk as I was packing to go to the magical education conference in the city. Yeah. So I just had to take care of an imp there. Well, it's all taken care of. Don't worry. I didn't get bitten. Imps are, for a wizard such as me, imps are really simple to they're really quite they're pests, really, is what they are. Anyway, but I wasn't talking about imps, I was talking about magical pandemics. Yes, so this one was brought on by the Dark Lord and it had several sort of magical resistances. And you know, one thing the Dark Lord always did, one thing the Dark Lord always did was they always, whether it's a man or a woman, the Dark Lord always underestimates the non-magicals. Always estimates the abilities of non-magical beings. That has always been the Dark Lord's weakness. So I suppose if you take one thing from this talk, always remember that the true power, lies in those that your enemy looks down upon. The true power lies in those whom your enemy would seek to take advantage of. Always remember that. And always remember that when you are defeating your own pandemic, follow the advice of your goblin medics. Whatever they tell you to do, whatever your goblins tell you to do, make sure that you do it. And always remember that light can always defeat darkness, and that love can always defeat hatred, and that life can always defeat death. Well, maybe not so much on that one, but not always. Because then you get undead. Because if death wins, you get the undead. So maybe not so true on that one. But always remember, take care. Why, thank you, Mithrius. That That was fascinating. I don't exactly know how that will be relevant to us in our situation, because we don't have magic in this universe. But it's fascinating to think about how a wizard would respond to a global pandemic and what sort of magics would be taken into account and used. And I don't know, it's all fascinating. Like, from a purely scientific view, it's fascinating how this universe, which is completely magical, would respond to a global pandemic. It's fascinating. Well, until next time, I have been Dr. Leonard Tementi. And you can please leave your questions, comments, rude remarks down in the comments down below. Please like, subscribe, ring the little bell if you'd like to be notified when the next video comes out, whenever it comes out. Please follow me on Twitter at Dr. Tementi. Follow me on Facebook at Dr. Leonard Tementi. That's full name. If you'd like to send me a question, please email me at dr.leonard.tementi@gmail.com. Those are the ways to contact me, get in touch with me, or just, leave a question down below. Questions, comments, rude remarks. But until next time, enjoy science. Well, that was indeed a show. Ooh, hello. I enjoyed this background here. This was a great choice. Whoever was the art director, make sure to give them a pay raise, because this is brilliant. I enjoy this as a background. I enjoy standing behind that. And now let's go to my lab to experiment on humans. I hope I can get some human subjects. I hope your best wizards and fighters and paladins and clerics and all those people can defeat the Dark Lord. Yeah. Here's hoping that you as well defeat your Dark Lord. That shouldn't be happening. There's music in the background that should not be going on. I apologize. Shall we take that again? Let's take that again. This is